Welcome to Greek for a Week. I am glad that you are here this week with us. We are looking at two verses in the book of Philippians, chapter 2, verses 29 and 30. Again, this will wrap up this particular paragraph of 25 through 30. And so, as we typically do each week, we look at a few verses, consider the translation for them, and some grammatical and syntactical components that might help us understand how the author has put together, in this case, verse 29 and verse 30. And so next week we will diagram this passage here, 25 through 30, and have a better understanding of how we might teach verses 25 through 30 by looking at how the author, Paul in this case, has structured this particular paragraph that notes Epaphroditus as an example of humility. All right, so let's go ahead and translate. Therefore, receive him in the Lord with all joy and hold those like him in high regard, because he was near death for the sake of the work of Christ, risking his life in order to complete what was lacking in your ministry to me. So if we look at a few things here, we'll have a better understanding of what all Paul is doing here. I like his transition, un. All right, un is one of those transition words that we can see from the preceding verses. He typically used indicatives and subjunctives. Well, now he's transitioned into an imperative. So the un, again, continues to resume the thought, if you will, but now there's a transition. And of course, the pros dec este is a second person plural, present middle imperative of pros decami. So this imperative here is on behalf of the Philippians. That's why it's second person plural. So therefore, based upon the preceding verses where I have demonstrated that Epaphroditus is an example, I'm asking you to receive him. All right, and then he says, receive him in the Lord. So here's a prepositional phrase. Potentially some difficulty with this. Again, doesn't modify him in the sense that we have brother in the Lord. It's a relational or a relationship term. Or is it describing how they are to receive him? I think it's more of a relational relationship term. And then I think how that they are to receive him is with all joy in this other prepositional phrase here, meta passes charos. That's the manner in which they are to receive him, with all joy. Then you have a demonstrative pronoun, which is a little bit unique here, the tous, toi utus. All right, that is the direct object of the verb ekete, which he says to hold those like him, which is your group of people here. So those who are similar to Epaphroditus, as an example of humility, hold on to them, keep them. All right. Then we move into verse 30, and then you have a reason as to why they are to receive him. You have the hati there at the beginning of verse 30. Then notice you have a dia ta plus an accusative, diata ergon. That's why I've translated that for the sake of, or because of. So because he was near death, and here is that clause right here, he is near death. You could say, why was he near death? Well, for the sake of the work of Christ. And then this Christou, this genitive, modifies the ergon. That Christou, probably a subjective genitive, which means it's Christ's work. All right, so I think we have here Epaphroditus is to be received by the Philippians because of his work for the sake of Christ's work. Well, in the process of that, he was near death, risking his life. So we have the aorist middle participle, masculine nominative singular of para baluamai. So here's your participle of means, the means in which we are best understanding how he was near death by risking his life. And then, of course, your final word that I'll discuss here is hina. Purpose clause of risking one's life is so that, or in order to, complete what was lacking in your ministry to me. So again, I think Paul wraps up this paragraph with an imperative, with a command for the Philippians to receive Epaphroditus. Why are they to receive him? Because he risked his life working on behalf of Christ, and he was near death. And hold on to those others, those other people that have a similar disposition as Epaphroditus. Have a great week. We'll diagram verses 25 through 30 next week.